number 10, James Franco. It's no longer a surprise to anyone that James is a bad dude, but his misdeeds date back to 2005. James and Tyrese Gibson starred opposite each other in a 2005 dramatic piece called Annapolis. The story follows Franco's character wanting to attend the titular Naval Academy and entering into a boxing tournament against some of the Navy's best and brightest. His main opponent is Tyrese Gibson. Throughout the majority of filming, James and Tyrese would regularly practice the choreography for the final fight of the film. Now, method acting is one thing when you just pretend to be someone else all the time, but it's different when you're literally punching your co-star for real. Instead of the normal film choreography allowing actors to fake hit each other, Franco was throwing real punches without warning. Gibson tried to be civil at first and asked him to lighten up, but Franco ignored him and continued to box his heart out. When asked about the incident in interviews, Franco defended himself by saying he was aware he made the set difficult at times and claimed to be so wrapped up in his role that he probably wasn't as friendly as he could be. Gibson, however, holds a massive grudge towards Franco, claiming he'd never step foot in the same room as him ever again. Good news for Tyrese, James got cancelled and Fast 11 comes out soon. At number 9, Bill Murray. Sony's first foray into the world of Charlie's Angels was a massive success when it was released, starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu as the Angels. The movie was filled with action, a bit of comedy, and one of the strangest performances ever delivered by Crispin Glover. Oh my god, that guy needs help. One interesting addition to the cast was the inclusion of Ghostbusters alumni Bill Murray as the man behind the mic Bosley. Apparently, the set was anything but a comedy after Bill found out a scene was rewritten without his knowledge. In an interview with the news outlet Deadline, Lucy Liu spoke about her time on set and the situation surrounding Bill's outburst. Apparently, he was away for a family event when a scene needed to be reshot for the film. Instead of using a stand-in, it was decided that the scene could be filmed without Murray's character being involved, so the scene went on without him. When he returned to find the change was made while he was gone, he was furious. He reportedly shouted at half the crew, including Lucy herself. At first, she wasn't sure why he was aiming his comments at her. She didn't write the scene, she wasn't the director. She asked if Bill was talking to her, which sent him into a full-blown meltdown. She decided to speak out on Bill's behavior on set, and he was ultimately written out of the sequel. Lucy is proud for speaking her mind despite being a relatively unknown actress at the time, and is glad that Bill's career seems to have suffered for it, because Lucy was just the first of many celebs to comment on his behavior, but let's save that for another time. At number 8, Jennifer Aniston. In 2010, Elle asked actor Jay Moore to describe his most awkward interaction with a female celebrity. Moore responded with a blind item that involved a certain leading lady who was upset to learn that he would be playing her love interest. This mystery diva reportedly yelled, "You've got to be kidding me," right to his face. He then revealed that the behavior that followed led to Moore regularly, quote, "go to my mom's house and cry." Asked if the actress happened to be Aniston, who played his love interest in the 1997 film Picture Perfect, Moore said he will never ever answer that. Well, on his More Stories podcast, he did answer that. Moore claimed Aniston pointed right at him on the first day of rehearsal and screamed, "6 guys they screen test. 6. The one effing guy I hate, that's the guy they hire." This apparently went on the entire day as Aniston kept bad-mouthing him to their co-star. Regardless of what really happened on that Picture Perfect soundstage, Moore has apparently never forgiven Aniston. In 2016, Sports Illustrated asked what was more satisfying, kissing Jen Aniston or firing Tom Cruise's character in Jerry Maguire. Moore answered, without question, firing Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is hotter. At number 7, Jennifer Lopez. The 2020 Super Bowl saw 2 pop icons taking the stage and making the night about them and not football. Shakira and Jennifer Lopez appeared together. They absolutely slayed, and their performance has gone down in history as the most memorable and shimmy-filled night in the NFL. Unfortunately, Jennifer did not want to share the stage. Following the show, as a part of her Netflix documentary Halftime, it was revealed that she was extremely annoyed at the NFL for forcing her to share the stage when she felt strong enough on her own, literally calling it the worst idea in the world. Her main concern was the fact that herself and Shakira were meant to occupy and share the same amount of stage time as a normal solo act rather than doubling it like she assumed would happen. Solo artists are normally given between 12 and 16 minutes of stage time, with most artists using that time to do a mashup of their most popular songs. In the documentary, a clip revealed that Jennifer yelled at her music director, complaining that she had 6 effing minutes, 30 seconds per song. Not enough. The worst idea is putting multiple people on the stage. To prove her wrong, one of the most recent performances on the Super Bowl stage saw 6 major artists share the 12-minute spot. Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar were all able to make it work and work work well, but Jen couldn't even fathom the 6 minutes she had to perform.
Number 5. Bruce Willis. Now, Kevin Smith is a director, actor, and an absolute geek in the best of ways. In 2010, he collaborated with Bruce Willis on an action comedy called Cop Out, a story about two cops who get sucked into wild action-packed shenanigans. I don't know, I've never seen the movie. According to Kevin Smith, his time on set as a director of the project was not good, and it was mostly due to his childhood hero Bruce Willis telling him to snap out of it every time that he would mention his admiration. He went on to claim that Bruce was difficult to work with on set in general, and that a lot of the time it just felt like he was messing up scenes on purpose to throw him off. Apparently, every time Kevin would try to, do his job and direct Bruce Willis, he would just kind of tell him that he had been working in the industry for 25 years and that there was nothing that Kevin could tell him he didn't already know. He then revealed on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno back in 2012 that Bruce had actually confronted him after filming one day and asked him if he wanted to take a swing. The situation escalated to the point that Bruce didn't appear for promotional events or photo shoots, meaning that he was photoshopped into most of the pictures that you see him with co-star Tracy Morgan, who Kevin claims is actually the only reason he didn't back out of the project. Since Willis was diagnosed with aphasia, the two have been able to patch things up, with Kevin apologizing for his petty complaints. Number 4. Ryan Gosling. The Notebook is considered to be one of the better romantic movies ever made in Hollywood. Oddly enough though, the on-screen couple didn't get along at all during their shoot. Turns out they would constantly fight on set, and they seemed to have completely opposite ideas on how several of the scenes should play out. Ryan Gosling especially was a little bit of a problem. One day in particular was pretty exciting for anyone who wasn't involved. All drama watchers were sipping their tea. Ryan called over the director and demanded that Rachel was replaced by another actress to read her lines. In front of 150 crew members, he claimed that Rachel just wasn't giving him anything to work with, and the two would constantly yell at each other. Their toxic on-set feud somehow morphed into a relationship that lasted for like 2 years, but anyone who worked on the set blames them for the constant schedule setbacks and creating just a terrible work environment overall. So, I don't know, he seems better now that he's been in Barbie. Number 3. William Shatner. This one is for all of you Trekkies out there. Live long and prosper. That's all I got. I'm not as geeky as one may think, but I'm well aware of this long-standing feud between William Shatner and his Star Trek co-star George Takei. This feud has lasted for over 50 years, and according to George, it boils down to William being a prima donna attention hog the entire time he was on set. Over the years, George has always been vocal about his opinion on his fellow Star Trek cast and crew. Most of the time he has nothing but nice things to say and claims to have made lifelong friends from the project. But there is, of course, one that he despises, and it's William Shatner, who was the bane of everyone's existence on set. He loved being the center of attention and was apparently very self-involved. He wanted everyone to know who he was. William actually responded to these claims, telling people that he believed that Star Trek co-stars were damaging his good name for publicity's sake. But why would people who've barely acted in 30 years suddenly want to bash you for fame and glory? I don't know if anyone has noticed or not, but William hasn't done much either in a while, other than, petition to go to space for real, so good for him. Number 2. Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx has been a huge star in the world of Hollywood over the years, working with several acclaimed directors in basically every genre, but like most actors, Jamie had to start somewhere. And that somewhere was in the film Any Given Sunday from 1999, alongside Al Pacino, Cameron Diaz, Dennis Quaid, and Mr. LL Cool J. Cool J and Jamie played teammates in the football-centric flick, and not only do their characters constantly fight on screen, but behind the scenes, they had an actual brawl that ended in the Miami County Police being called in. During one scene, the two were scripted to fight and filmed the first 2 takes as planned, with just, faking it. However, some offset beef made its way in front of the camera when Jamie struck Cool J for real, splitting his lip open, and an all-out beatdown took place, leaving Jamie unconscious and in the hospital. They had to stop production because they just weren't sure when Jamie would actually, come back to be able to film his scenes. When Fox did return to set, it was with a small crew of friends and his manager. Waiting to greet them was LL Cool J and half of Brooklyn, according to the director, who stated that the tension was only settled after the real-life football players that the characters were based on came onto set and took care of business. And at number 1, Sarah Jessica Parker. For this entry, I'm not allowed to say the title of the show that Sarah and her co-star Kim Cattrall were on, so I'll be referring to it as Schmecks and the City, okay? Take the schm and You know what, you'll figure it out. The Schmecks and the City series is remembered for its larger-than-life fashion and flings. But even better than the show itself was apparently the dramatic on-set feud between Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall. There was merely speculation for a long time, but their feud was confirmed when Kim was left out of the HBO Max revival, and just like that. The feud reportedly stems from Sarah receiving a massive bonus when she was given an executive producer title in season 2. When the other girls found out, Kim attempted to negotiate a new salary. Apparently, the other cast members found that out, and they thought it was petty and just basically shunned her on set, refusing to sit with her at lunch. According to Kim, she began to face hardships in her personal life and was having a difficult time coping. The feud was surface level, and as time went on, things got better from what we can tell. Number 10, Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase, a popular man thanks to National Lampoon and Saturday Night Live, but he returned to the mainstream when he starred as Pierce Hawthorne in the hit sitcom Community. I genuinely love this show. Chevy? Not so much. And it would appear that his Community co-stars would agree with that statement. Around the middle of the show's runtime, Chevy started to complain about his co-stars, especially Mr. Glover. It became apparent that he was more than just angry with Donald, and it was eventually fired for using racial slurs against him. According to himself, aka Troy Barnes, Chevy would often make inappropriate jokes either aimed at him or as a general way to disrupt a scene. Joel McHale told People that before he was fired, Chevy was complaining about his character on the show and how he was being portrayed. The entire cast reminded him that there was no contract keeping him there, which may have been part of what set him off on set. His character was written out in truly humiliating fashion, with his life ending after feeding his geese way too much. If you know what I mean. He was playing with them. Number 9, Tom Hardy. Mad Max Fury Road is a forgotten gem in cinema history. It featured little to no CGI despite having some awesome visuals, and it featured some pretty cool performances from its cast like Nicholas Hoult, Charlize Theron, and Tom Hardy. Charlize and Tom played the main characters, Furiosa and Max, and while their on-screen characters end up working together in the end, on set, it was a very different vibe. Tom had a bad habit of showing up late all the time, meanwhile Charlize was a brand new mother who would be there on time every day while their kids were forced to be taken care of by someone else. In a book called Red, Sweat, and Chrome, The Wild and True Story of Mad Max Fury Road, the writer Kyle Buchanan shared an instance on set between Charlize and Tom. Everyone was on set, 8 a.m., ready to shoot, except for Mr. Hardy. But at that point, Charlize took her place and stayed there until Tom showed up 3 hours later. Now, she didn't move a muscle, and according to the crew, she was beyond furious. When Tom finally showed up, she asked him how he could be so disrespectful and said that they should fine this See You Next Tuesday $100,000 for every minute that he held up the crew. She didn't say see you next Tuesday. I really wish I could say the word that did set him off. The word she did say set Tom off, and he rushed up to her and pulled out the whole "what did you just say to me" type thing. Yeah, he didn't say it like that. He's a big tough guy. Oh, big tough I can't hear so good. Overall, Charlize felt pretty threatened by Tom on set and had an assistant follow her around as a buffer between them. When the shoot wrapped, the tension was gone and things seemed to have gotten better, but the difficult shoot combined with the stress is probably why Tom Hardy was never brought back for a Mad Max 2. Number 8, Jeremy Piven. Best known for his role as the timekeeper in Spy Kids 4D, All the Time in the World, and nothing else, unfortunately has an overall rough reputation in the world of Hollywood, mainly being pegged as a very difficult man to work with. Several of his co-stars over the years have called out his wild behavior. When Kim Kardashian made a cameo appearance on some indie show called Entourage, I don't know, I've never heard of it, he was very pushy towards her, trying to get her contact information. Several past girlfriends and co-stars like January Jones, Kelly Brook, and Rachel Hunter have all agreed that this guy plays the numbers game. He'll go out and get as many phone numbers as he can so that at the end of the night he can just text all of them at once and see who responds first. The most troubling incident came when he made a guest appearance on the sitcom Will and Grace, playing Grace's ex-boyfriend. Deborah Messing, who plays Grace, recalled to Andy Cohen, Watch What Happens Live, that her experience with Piven was just plain gross. She claims to have locked lips with a lot of boys in her time on stage and screen, and on the first day of rehearsals, Jeremy tried to get French with her, claiming that he tried to shove his tongue down to her heart. She told him to take it easy, but apparently he refused. Not a cool move at all, and very gross indeed. This man is so mean and self-centered that he once tipped a waiter with a DVD of The Entourage. Seriously, what? Is it like a late night cable television show or something? Ooh. I'm just kidding, I know what The Entourage is. Number 7, Mike Myers. Yeah, baby, it's very shagadelic that Mike's on this list. Despite being a Canadian treasure and the man behind some comedy cult classics like Austin Powers and Wayne's World, this guy's actually apparently a menace on set. According to his Cat in the Hat co-star Amy Hill, Mike had handlers dress his entire trailer, and his work area was entirely covered with tenting. Apparently he just didn't want anybody to see him physically, which, hey man, that's fair. If I was in that cat suit with a bum crack in it, I'd probably want to hide too. His reputation as a difficult Donnie might have something to do with Hollywood blacklisting him entirely, except for his recent show The Pentaverate, which was a show where he basically played half the cast because, yeah, he couldn't get anybody else to get on the show, I guess. It might be that, or it might be the Love Guru, who knows? Number 6, Bill Murray. Now, Bill Murray has had many public feuds with many co-stars over the years that would qualify him as an entry on this list. One of his more famous feuds was with Charlie's Angel co-star Lucy Liu, but I already covered that in part 1 of this list, so today I'm going to talk about his long-standing feud with his late Ghostbusters co-star Harold Ramis. Harold and Bill famously starred opposite of each other in the classic Ghostbusters series, but they had been working together before and after the project, with Harold acting as the director on a lot of projects starring Bill Murray. The moment he was outed as one of the meanest men on set was while filming Groundhog Day. According to cast and crew, Harold and Bill would regularly get into screaming matches over the way that a scene should be filmed or how a line should be said. According to Harold, who passed away in 2014, Bill would show up late to set, well past his call time. Following the film, the two did not speak to each other for decades. It wasn't until Harold was heading out the door that Bill decided to reconcile the friendship, but by then it was a little bit too late. Of course, in the years since, several co-stars, especially female ones, have come forward to call out his extreme temper and snappiness on set, but we could do a whole top 10 about things that Bill Murray has done.
At number 6, Jared Leto. Jared Leto has been a problematic figure in the world of Hollywood throughout a majority of his career. After first gaining notoriety for portraying the character of Lane Dixon alongside Dennis Quaid and Danny Glover, Leto quickly began building up his acting repertoire with roles in iconic films like Mr. Nobody, Girl Interrupted, and even taking a turn as the Clown Prince of Darkness, the Joker, in the 2016 film The Suicide Squad, which landed him a spot on this list. Jared has always taken method acting to the extreme, losing and gaining weight rapidly over and over again. It was this film in which he may have snapped. While playing the iconic Batman villain, Leto purposefully distanced himself from his fellow actors on set, and reports are that he sent his castmates used adult toys. At one point during filming Captain Boomerang, actor Jay Courtney found a live snake in his trailer following a long shooting day. The snake wasn't venomous, but I think we can all agree that's a big ol' nope. In recent years, he's claimed that any gifts sent to his castmates were sent with the intent of joy and excitement and were received as such. I don't know, exposing your fellow actors to your bodily fluids and actual snakes doesn't sound very exciting to me. At number 5, Wesley Snipes. Ryan Reynolds is known for many things. He's got his toes dipped into the world of adult beverages, wireless cell phone coverage, and he's even a soccer coach. One of his most iconic roles as an actor is of course Mr. Deadpool himself. However, in 2008, Ryan was a part of a different Marvel movie. As some may know, the original Marvel movie that started this whole live-action comics trend was the Blade trilogy, starring Wesley Snipes as the titular vampire hunter. By the time of the third film of the franchise rolled around, Wesley Snipes was just done with working on set. He hated the way the franchise was turning out, and all of his creative suggestions were quickly shut down. His main problem, though, was the fact that Blade Trinity was written as a straight-up comedy movie. The previous entries were dark action movies filled with gore and some pretty stellar fight sequences, so when Van Wilder was cast to be his co-star, he gave up. He famously refused to film several scenes unless he was allowed to keep his shades on, and apparently he was micro-napping during scenes because he just didn't care anymore. Ryan played a big part in his difficulty enjoying the shoot, making it his mission to make Wesley snap. He would constantly do bits, push things too far, just the general Ryan Reynolds chaos that we're used to at this point. At the end of the day, Blade Trinity ended up burying the franchise and was one of the most chaotic and toxic film sets of 2004. At number 4, Kiefer Sutherland. The man known for his roles in movies like Lost Boys and Stand By Me has built a nice little place for himself in Hollywood. For a long time, he was starring in the crime drama 24. Many celebrities have made small cameos and recurring roles on the show, but in 2010, Scooby-Doo actor Freddie Prinze Jr. was cast as Agent Cole Ortiz. Despite the massive success of the show, the job left him scarred, admitting that he hated every moment of it. According to Freddie, Kiefer is the most unprofessional dude in the world. Continuing to say that he wasn't talking trash, this was something he would happily say to Kiefer's face, and apparently a ton of his co-stars agree that he makes filming a living nightmare. Following the end of his character's time on the show, he did slow down in the acting world, now limiting himself to voiceover and cameo roles. The odd thing was that while there were some backing up Freddy's story, there were a higher number of defenders for Sutherland, claiming the exact opposite experience. Some say he's the most professional man in the world, so if anyone watching this knows Kiefer, weigh in. Are you Team Kiefer good or Kiefer bad? At number 3, Alyssa Milano. Alright, so let's talk about the show Charmed for a moment, a solid series that was on the air for almost 10 years. The series followed 3 sisters who discovered they were descendants of a line of good female witches and are destined to fight against the forces of evil. Yeah, it was a fun show, however, just because you play sisters on set doesn't mean you're as close in real life. Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano had a very public altercation that resulted in a little incident on set being shared with the world. Rose claimed that Alyssa threw a fit in front of the crew yelling, "They don't pay me enough to do this stuff," only she didn't say stuff. She called Alyssa's behavior appalling, claiming she cried every time the show got renewed for another season because it meant more time on a toxic set. Alyssa never shared her own comments on the situation, confirming what she was being accused of. At number 2, Richard Gere. Richard Gere is one of those actors that doesn't really act. Sometimes people just get hired for films because they have the face for it or the style. For Richard Gere, he did not have enough class and moxie to keep a handle on his role in the film The Lords of Flatbush. He was cast to star alongside Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone, and according to Sly, these two did not get along. Their beef was strong and long-lasting throughout production until it finally came to a head when one day Richard was a little too into a scene and grabbed Sylvester aggressively by the collar. When Stallone told him to lay off, he laid in instead. The scene was being filmed on Coney Island, and when the actors took a break, they tried to break each other. Stallone was eating a hot dog alone in a car. Sounds peaceful. But suddenly, Richard stormed in to join him with half a chicken dripping in mustard. Despite Sly's warning about the mustard, it dripped all over his pants. In true Rocky fashion, he elbowed Richard in the head and threw him out of the car. The altercation resulted in Richard being fired from the project. Oh no, we have to decide between Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone. I wonder how quick that decision was. And at number 1, Dustin Hoffman. Dustin is a very easy man to spot. Not only is he a solid actor, but he has a very specific face. Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, anyone? Remember that movie? I did not remember that existed until I started writing this script. I will be watching that tonight. Despite his ability to play lovable and cheerful characters, he actually started out as somewhat of a villain. On the second day of filming his more famous part in Kramer vs. Kramer, Dustin decided to improvise a scene where he strikes his co-star Meryl Streep across the face. Let me rephrase that. Dustin Hoffman thought it would be a great idea to strike Meryl Streep. Mamma mia, that's not okay. Not only was Meryl shocked by the move, but she recalled that Dustin was also trying to use a tactic on her called emotional recall, taunting her about her late partner John Cazale and his illness.
Celebrities can have fame get to their heads. Here are some arrogant celebrities exposed by their co-stars. Number 1, we have Jared Leto. Leto is an actor known to be method. And if you don't know what method acting means, it is a technique or type of acting in which an actor aspires to encourage sincere and emotionally expressive performances by fully inhabiting the role of the character. So basically, aka never breaking character on or off set. Jared Leto stayed completely in character as the Joker and sent his castmates disturbing gifts, and his co-stars had some things to say about it. After he sent Viola Davis a box of bullets, she almost had her pepper spray out. She told E! News, "It was a little worrisome, it made you a little bit nervous, and I'm pretty tough. You know, I got into a few fights when I was growing up, but it scared me a little bit." But it doesn't stop there. Viola also said Jared introduced himself to the cast by sending them a dead pig and sent Margot Robbie, who is playing Harley Quinn, a black rat in a box in which Margot kept as a pet. Next on the list we have Jennifer Aniston. Known as the good girl in Hollywood, Jennifer Aniston seems like she would not hurt a fly. Well, that all changed when Jay Moore, her co-star in 1997's Picture Perfect, said that his most awkward interaction with a female co-star was, quote, being on the set of a movie where the leading woman was unhappy with his presence and made it clear from day one. Although he never named any names, this was the only movie that fit the description. Maybe he's too scared Aniston's legal team will get involved if he speaks up. He also said, I hadn't done many movies, and even though they screen tested some pretty famous guys, I somehow sneaked into the leading role. The actress said, "No way, you've got to be kidding me," loudly, between takes, to other actors on set. I would literally go to my mom's house and cry. Next up, we have Bill Murray. Bill has been in the news for a while now for accusations made against him, but this particular accusation is from the year 2000, while Bill was filming Charlie's Angels. His co-star Lucy Liu had some negative things to say about him, telling media outlets that Bill hurled insults at her while rehearsing a scene. While Liu didn't specify what Murray said to her during rehearsal, she confirmed reports that the actor started, quote, "hurling insults at me after learning of new scene rewrites." In the moment, the actress had difficulty processing what was happening. I was like, wow, he seems like he's looking straight at me. I couldn't believe that his comments could be towards me, because what do I have to do with anything majorly important at the time? I say, "I'm sorry, are you talking to me?" And clearly he was, because then it started to become a one-on-one communication. From Liu's perspective, some of the language Murray used was, quote, "inexcusable and unacceptable." She therefore decided to speak up in spite of the fact that she was one of the lesser known actors on set. "I stood up for myself, and I do not regret it," she said, "because no matter how low on the totem pole you may be, or wherever you came from, there's no need to condescend or to put other people down." Next up, we have Miss Jennifer Lopez. Jane Fonda called out her monster-in-law co-star Jennifer Lopez for injuring her on set. On the Drew Barrymore show, she said, "The thing that comes to mind right away is that we have a slapping scene. I slap her, she slaps me. Jennifer, as per Jennifer, she had this enormous diamond ring. When she slapped me, it cut open across my eyebrow. And you know, she's never apologized," she concluded. But Jane Fonda isn't the only one who has some things to say about J-Lo. Last year, a viral TikTok trend where people told their J-Lo horror stories went viral, and some of the stories are crazy. One user said, "I served at a restaurant where J-Lo and Ben Affleck were eating. At the end of the meal, Ben put a $100 bill down as a tip for the waitress. As Jennifer was just about to leave, she grabbed the $100 bill and replaced it with $5. Yikes. Next up, we have Alyssa Milano. Alyssa Milano has been exposed by her Charmed co-star Rose McGowan for being toxic on set. During a Twitter spat with her former Charmed co-star, she tweeted, "You threw a fit in front of the crew, yelling, 'They don't pay me enough to do this.' Appalling behavior on the daily. I cried every time we got renewed because you made that set toxic AF." She also shared an interview clip where she told Nightline, "I don't like Alyssa because I think she's a lie." Responding in a statement to E! News, Alyssa Milano said, hurt people. Commenting any further does not align with my wellness plan. Next up, we have Gene Kelly. Gene is one of the most famous actors and dancers from the 1950s, and his co-star of Singing in the Rain had some things to say about him. In her 2013 memoir, Unsinkable, Debbie Reynolds wrote that her Singing in the Rain co-star / director Gene Kelly was a, quote, "cruel taskmaster." She said, "He came to rehearsals and criticized everything I did and never gave me a word of encouragement." She also alleged that he made unwanted advances towards her during their first kiss scene, writing, "The camera closed in, Gene took me tightly in his arms and shoved his tongue down my throat. Ew, what was that?" I screeched. Breaking free of his grasp and spitting, I ran around frantic, yelling for some Coca-Cola to cleanse my mouth. It was the early 1950s and I was an innocent kid who had never been French kissed before. I was stunned that this 39-year-old man would do this to me. Gene reportedly once said, "I wasn't very nice to Debbie. I'm surprised she still speaks to me." Next up, we have Lea Michele. The Glee star has been in the news lately for her apparent horrible behavior on set and off set. Replying to a tweet Lea Michele made about the Black Lives Matter movement, Glee co-star Samantha Marie Ware wrote, "Remember when you made my first television gig a living hell? 'Cause I'll never forget. I believe you told everybody that if you had the opportunity, you would poo in my wig. Amongst other traumatic microaggressions that made me question a career in Hollywood." Another co-star, Heather Morris, also had some things to say on Twitter. Was she unpleasant to work with? Very much so. For Lea to treat others with the disrespect that she did for as long as she did, I believe she should be called out. And finally, Dabbier Snell, who appeared on Glee in 2014, also recounted rude behavior from Lea Michele on set. He tweeted, "Girl, you wouldn't let me sit at the table with the other cast members because I didn't belong there. F you, Leah," in all caps. Our next celebrity is Jamie Lynn Spears. Britney's little sister seems to have caused some trouble on the set of Nickelodeon's Zoe 101. Alexa Nicholas opened up in 2019 about Jamie Lynn Spears and other Zoe 101 cast members allegedly bullying her on the set of the teen show. Nicholas was notably written off the show after season 2. In addition to claims of bullying tactics like exclusion and mocking, Nicholas also revealed in 2022 that she was once lured into a room with Jamie Lynn and her sister Britney Spears under false pretenses, deliberately separated from her mother. Britney Spears reportedly screamed at Nicholas and threatened her future in Hollywood. Nicholas revealed that Britney has apologized since and called her an amazing person, noting the stress 8 months pregnant Britney was under at the time and saying that she felt Britney had been manipulated by her sister Jamie Lynn. After Nicholas's interview, Britney publicly apologized, writing on Twitter that Jamie Lynn had told her she was being bullied and that my sister was literally like my daughter growing up, so I apologize for my ignorance for yelling at you when I obviously had no idea what was really going on. Kiefer Sutherland is the next celebrity on our list, and he has some serious allegations made against him. Let's get into it. After joining the show 24, Freddie Prinze Jr. was vocal about how much he disliked the show's lead actor, and really, his entire time on the program. "I did 24, and it was terrible. I hated every moment of it," he told ABC News. Kiefer was the most unprofessional dude in the entire world. "That's not me talking trash. I'd say it to his face. I think everybody that's worked with him has said that." Prinze also took a break from acting after his stint on 24, saying that the experience made him want to, quote, "quit the business." Rebel Wilson recently opened up about, quote, "awful and disgusting advances from a male co-star," though she didn't name who. "He called me into a room and pulled down his pants," she revealed, saying the co-star then asked her to perform a very vulnerable act. Afraid of retaliation and wanting to be professional, Wilson stayed on the project, though she said, "Definitely amongst industry circles, I made sure people knew what happened." She had also separately revealed that a male co-star in a position of power asked me to go into a room with him, all whilst his male friends tried to film the incident on their iPhones and laughed. "I repeatedly said no and eventually got out of the room."